Amelia has always been the kind of woman who loves for real presence, depth, connection. And then came Ethan, the photographer with the soft smile, and the heavy disappearances. He said he felt something for her. But he'd vanish for days. He'd change the subject every time she tried to talk about us. He kept everything in the almost. Until Amelia realized she was living a relationship built on silence, excuses, and doubts she carried alone. And one night, heart shaking, she asked for just one thing, the truth. And what happens next is what changes everything. Welcome to Lost Stories and Lyrics, the place where emotional stories will touch your heart. Tell me in the comments where you're watching from. Amelia Grant was 35, with a remarkable gift for turning empty rooms into warm, welcoming homes. As an interior designer, she understood color, texture, proportion. She knew exactly how to make a space feel complete. The ironic part was that her emotional life felt like it was always under construction, never finished, always waiting for that final missing piece that would make everything make sense. She met Ethan Hayes at an art gallery in Portland, during an exhibit of urban photography. Amelia was there for work, looking for inspiration for a commercial project. Ethan was the featured photographer, striking images of forgotten alleyways, anonymous spaces caught in intimate moments, light and shadow dancing in ways that made you feel something you couldn't quite name. "Do you like it?" a voice asked behind her as she studied a particularly captivating photo of an elderly woman laughing alone on a park bench. Amelia turned to find intense blue eyes and a smile that looked like it held secrets. "It's devastating," she answered honestly. "In the best way. You capture loneliness without making it feel lonely. That's the sharpest analysis I've heard all night." He offered his hand. "Ethan." "Amelia." They talked for hours. Ethan was magnetic, smart, funny, deep when he wanted to be. He told her about growing up in a military family, moving from base to base, and how photography became his anchor when nothing else stayed the same. Amelia shared that creating spaces was her way of building the stability she never had in her chaotic childhood. "We're both trying to make order out of chaos," Ethan said, his eyes fixed on her in a way that made her stomach flip. "You build it, and I capture it." At the end of the night, he asked for her number. Amelia gave it, feeling a spark of possibility she hadn't felt in years. Ethan texted the next day. Then disappeared for 3. And then came back with a spontaneous dinner invitation so charming that Amelia said yes before questioning the pattern. Dinner was magical. Ethan was present in a way that made Amelia feel like the only person in the restaurant. He asked about her work, her life, her dreams. He listened, truly listened. And when he walked her home and kissed her at the door, it was with an intensity that promised everything. "I'll see you again," he whispered against her lips. And she believed him. But, again, took 5 days. No explanation for the silence. Just a sudden text, "Missed you. Free tomorrow?" She should have questioned it. But when they were together, Ethan was so present, so intense, that she forgot the absences. He took her to places she would have never found on her own, a hidden basement jazz club, a lookout with a sweeping view of the city, an old bookstore that smelled like forgotten stories. "How do you know all these places?" she asked while flipping through a worn poetry book. "I wander," Ethan replied with that enigmatic smile. "It's what I do. I wander and capture." It should have been romantic. It was romantic. But something about the way he said it, "I wander," felt less like an invitation and more like a warning. 2 months drifted into what Amelia hesitated to call a relationship. They went out, talked until sunrise, shared emotional and physical intimacy. But there was never consistency. Ethan would be intensely present for a few days, then vanish for a week. He'd send deep, late-night messages at 2 a.m., then ignore simple texts for days. "You disappeared," Amelia said one night when he finally showed up after 8 days of silence. "Sorry. Work's insane right now." Big project. But his social media showed he'd been at parties, out with friends, posting new photos. He just hadn't had time for her. Amelia felt the familiar knot in her stomach, that old feeling of being optional, of competing for attention that should have been freely given. She knew this feeling. She'd grown up with it, the daughter of parents who loved her but always prioritized work, obligations, anything over consistent presence. And she'd sworn she'd never accept that in a partner. Yet here she was, accepting crumbs and calling it a feast. "It's fine," she said, swallowing her frustration. "I just missed you." "I missed you too." Ethan pulled her close, and for a moment, his presence erased the absences. "You're special, Amelia. Like, really special to me. Special. But not a girlfriend. Not a partner. Not anything defined. What are we?" Amelia heard herself ask, hating the needy tone in her voice. Ethan tensed. "We're us. Do we really need labels? I just want to know where I stand. You're with me. Isn't that enough?" But she wasn't with him. She was near him sometimes. In his orbit when convenient. In his thoughts when he felt lonely. Amelia let it slide. Because when it was good, it was really good. And she started doing what she'd sworn she'd never do. She measured her worth by his attention. Good days were when Ethan texted. Bad days were when he didn't. Her mood depended on his availability. Her self-worth rose and fell with his consistency, or the lack of it. "You okay?" her best friend Jordan asked over lunch. "You seem different." "I'm fine." "You've checked your phone every 2 minutes." Amelia set it down, embarrassed. "It's just." Ethan hasn't replied yet. "About what?" "About whether he can hang out this weekend." Jordan studied her. "Amelia, you're asking for his availability like it's a favor. Does that feel right to you? It's complicated. Or it's simple and you're complicating it to avoid the obvious." Jordan took her hand. "People who want to be with you make time. They don't leave you waiting. They don't make you feel grateful for the bare minimum." Amelia knew Jordan was right. But when Ethan finally replied, "Sure, Saturday works. Can't wait to see you," the relief washed away every doubt. Until Saturday came and Ethan canceled 3 hours before with a vague excuse about something coming up. Amelia stood there staring at the dress she'd picked out, the makeup she'd carefully done, the woman in the mirror who had prepared herself for someone who hadn't prepared himself for her. And something inside her cracked. She didn't text him back right away. She waited. To see if he'd apologize further, reschedule, show he understood that last-minute cancellations hurt. Nothing. Just the cancellation message hanging there, unanswered. Amelia spent the Saturday alone, but instead of wallowing, she did something different. She worked on a personal project she'd been putting off, redesigning her own apartment, which somehow had never received the same attention she gave her clients' spaces. As she moved furniture and tried new layouts, she realized something. She was brilliant at creating homes for others. But her own space reflected someone who was always waiting to start living for real, waiting for someone else to complete the picture, waiting for permission to fully inhabit her own life. When Ethan finally texted 2 days later, "Sorry about Saturday. Can I make it up to you this week?" Amelia stared at the message for a long time before responding. "I need to talk to you. In person." His reply took hours. "Okay. When?" "When you can actually show up. Not when it's convenient. When you can truly be present." A long pause. Then, "Thursday. 7 p.m. That cafe you like." Amelia spent the next few days riding an emotional roller coaster. Part of her wanted to cancel, hold on to the illusion, accept whatever he offered because having something from him felt better than nothing. But another part, a deeper, wiser voice, whispered that she deserved more. Thursday came. Amelia arrived 10 minutes early, nervous in a way that had nothing to do with butterflies. This was the nerves of someone about to defend something important, herself. Ethan arrived 15 minutes late. Not by much. Just enough to reaffirm the pattern, his time mattered more. "Hey," he said, giving her that smile that used to make everything okay. But this time, Amelia didn't let it erase anything. "Thanks for coming," she said. "Of course. You sounded serious in your text." He ordered a coffee, settled in, casual as always. "What's going on?" Amelia took a deep breath. This was it. She could back down, soften the edges, make her feelings smaller to keep him comfortable. Or she could be brave. "I need honesty, Ethan. About us. About what this is." He shifted, immediate discomfort. "Didn't we already talk about that?" "No. You dodged it. And I swallowed it." Amelia kept her voice steady. "But I can't do that anymore. I need to know, do you want to be with me? Truly. Not just when it's convenient. Not just when you're bored or lonely. Do you actually want to build something with me?" Ethan looked anywhere but at her. "Amelia, you know I care about you. Caring isn't enough. I need to know if you're willing to show up. Consistently. Honestly. I do show up. You show up when you feel like it. And you disappear without explanation. And you leave me waiting, guessing, grateful for crumbs." Emotion rose in her chest, but she held it steady. "And I realized something. I accepted all this because I didn't think I deserved more. But I do." Ethan finally looked at her, guilt flickering across his face. "I never wanted to make you feel that way. But you did. You do." Amelia leaned forward. "So I need to ask you, can you be the man I need? Someone who shows up, communicates, is truly present? Because if you can't, I need to know. I need to stop waiting for something that's never going to come." The silence that followed said everything. Ethan stared at his hands, at his coffee cup, at the window, anywhere but at Amelia. The silence stretched between them, heavy and telling. "Ethan," Amelia said, her voice steadier now. "Look at me." He hesitated before lifting his eyes. And in that forced moment of eye contact, Amelia saw the truth he couldn't say out loud. Fear. Insecurity. Escape. "I don't know if I can give you what you need," he finally admitted, barely above a whisper. "Can't or won't?" "Both." "Neither." "I don't know." Ethan raked a hand through his hair. "Amelia, I care about you. A lot. But I'm not good at this. At being present. At committing. I've always been this way." "Have you always been this way, or have you always chosen to be?" The question caught him off guard. "What's the difference?" "The difference is everything." Amelia leaned back, matching the emotional distance with a physical one. "If you can't, that's a limitation. If you choose not to, that's a decision. And I need to know which it is." Ethan stayed quiet for a long beat. When he finally spoke, his voice carried years of unsaid truths. "My parents, we moved 17 times before I turned 18. Every time I got attached, we'd leave. So I learned not to. I learned not to stay long enough for it to hurt when we left." "But you're not moving now," Amelia said softly. "You've lived here for years. Not physically. But emotionally. I'm always packed. Always ready to bolt before things get too complicated. And I'm too complicated? No. You're terrifying because you make me want to stay. And I don't know how to do that without eventually screwing everything up. Amelia felt compassion mix with a painful clarity. So you keep me at arm's length. You show up, disappear, reappear, because if you leave, it hurts less. Something like that. But can't you see? It already hurts. You're already hurting me. The difference is I'm here feeling everything, and you're safe behind your walls. Ethan closed his eyes. I never wanted that. But it's what's happening. Amelia took a breath, refusing to let the tears fall. Not yet. And I can't do this anymore. I can't keep waiting for you to decide I'm worth the risk. Because Ethan, I am. I deserve someone who doesn't treat me like an option. You're not an option. But I'm treated like one. And the impact is the same. She reached for her bag. So I'm going to give you something you never gave me, complete honesty. I love you. Or at least, I love the version of you that shows up. But loving you has cost me loving myself. And that's too high a price. Ethan looked at her, truly lost for the first time. What are you saying? I'm saying it's over. Not because I don't want you. But because I want me more. Amelia stood. Ethan stood too, reaching for her hand. Wait. Can't we just try again? I can be better. You've said that before. After every disappearing act. After every last-minute cancellation. She gently pulled her hand away. And maybe you really try. For a few days. Until you get scared again. And I can't keep living in that cycle. Amelia, please. If you can't be the man I need, she looked him straight in the eyes, unshaken. Then say it looking at me. Tell me you can't give presents, honesty, commitment. Say it, and I'll walk away knowing you were at least honest at the end. Ethan opened his mouth. Closed it. Tried again. But nothing came out. Because saying it out loud, looking at her, would make it real in a way he couldn't face. And his inability to answer was the clearest answer of all. Thank you, Amelia whispered. For finally being honest, even if it was through silence. She left the cafe with her spine straight and her head high, but the moment she turned the corner, the tears came. Not tears of regret, tears of mourning for something that never truly was, and relief for finally stopping pretending. The following weeks were brutal. Amelia blocked Ethan everywhere, not out of anger, but out of self-preservation. She knew that if he reached out with his intensity and promises, she might crumble. He tried anyway. Mutual friends delivered messages. Flowers showed up at her office. But Amelia stayed firm. She finally understood something essential: love shouldn't be this hard at the beginning. If it took this much effort just to get him to show up, how could they ever build a life together? One night, Jordan arrived with wine and takeout. How are you holding up? Destroyed. But sure of my decision. Amelia poured the wine. It's weird. I miss him. But more than that, I'm ashamed of how much I accepted. How small I became trying to fit into his life. You weren't small. You were adapting to someone who couldn't meet you halfway. But why? Why did I do that? Amelia's frustration cracked through. I'm 35. I should know better. Should only brings judgment. You did the best you could with what you knew. Now you know better. Jordan raised her glass. To choosing yourself. To choosing myself, Amelia echoed. She threw herself into work, this time not to escape, but to rediscover herself. She took on projects that challenged her. She redesigned her own apartment, turning it from a temporary space into a home. One afternoon, while picking fabrics for a client, she realized she'd gone an entire day without thinking about Ethan. Not because she forced herself to, but because she was genuinely absorbed in her own life. Progress. Quiet, real progress. 2 months after the breakup, Amelia attended a sustainable design fair. She was studying reclaimed wood samples when a voice behind her said, "That one's great for contrast with industrial metals." She turned to find a man around 40 with a warm smile and kind eyes behind wooden frame glasses. He worked with the supplier, an expert in sustainable materials. "Marcus," he introduced himself. "Amelia." They talked about wood, sustainability, design. His passion was contagious. When she mentioned a challenge in a current project, he offered ideas, helpful, but never pushy. "Want to grab a coffee?" Marcus asked when their conversation naturally slowed. "I can show you some projects we've done that might help." "Sure," Amelia said, strictly professional, she told herself. Networking. But as they talked, she noticed things. How Marcus listened, really listened, asking questions that showed he was present. How his attention never drifted. How when his phone buzzed, he apologized, checked quickly, and came right back to her. Presence. Simple, steady presence. "I enjoyed this," Marcus said afterward. "Talking with you. Not just about work. You're interesting." Amelia felt something shift, not the overwhelming intensity she'd felt with Ethan, but something gentler. More grounded. "Thank you. You are too. Can I see you again? Outside of work?" Amelia hesitated. The wound was still tender. But his directness, his clarity, felt refreshing. "I just came out of something complicated," she admitted. "I'm not looking for anything serious right now." "That's okay," Marcus said easily. "How about just dinner? No expectations. Just getting to know someone interesting." And there it was. The difference. Honesty. Respect. No games. "Okay," she said. "Just dinner." "Just dinner," he agreed. "For now." The "for now" wasn't a threat. It felt promising. A door slightly open, not a trap. Walking home, Amelia thought about the contrast between Ethan and Marcus. One made her chase, prove her worth, beg for presents. The other was simply there. Clear. Available. And Amelia realized she had spent so long trying to make Ethan stay that she forgot what it felt like when someone actually wanted to. It wasn't about fireworks or dramatic intensity. It was about consistency. Transparency. Someone whose actions matched their words. She didn't know what Marcus would become, maybe something, maybe nothing. But for the first time in months, she wasn't anxious about the outcome. Because she finally understood the most important lesson. She didn't need to convince anyone to choose her. The right person always would. And until that person arrived, she would choose herself. Every day. Without apology. Without half-truths. Because Amelia Grant finally knew her worth. And she would never again negotiate it for scraps of affection. Dinner with Marcus was surprisingly easy. No drama, no games, no hidden motives. They talked about sustainable architecture, the cities they grew up in, the books they loved and the movies they hated. And when the night ended, Marcus didn't vanish for days. He texted the next morning, "Thanks for last night. I'd love to do it again whenever you're free." Simple. Direct. No guessing. They started seeing each other regularly. It didn't have the emotional whirlwind Ethan used to spark, but it offered something better, peace. Marcus showed up when he said he would. Called when he said he'd call. And when Amelia mentioned she had a major project coming up and would be busy, he just said, "No problem. Let me know when you're free. Good luck with the project." No guilt trips. No disappearing acts. Just understanding. He seems too good to be true, Amelia told Jordan over lunch 3 months after meeting Marcus. Or maybe you were so used to bad that healthy feels unreal, Jordan replied. Marcus isn't extraordinary for being present and honest. That's the bare minimum. Ethan trained you to think crumbs were a feast. Amelia knew she was right. And still, part of her kept waiting for the other shoe to drop, for Marcus to reveal some hidden inability to commit, something that would prove this level of ease wasn't real. But months passed, and Marcus remained exactly who he had shown himself to be from day one, consistent, communicative, grounded. Yes, he had flaws. He was stubborn about certain things, and sometimes got quiet when processing feelings, but he acknowledged those things. Talked through them. Worked on them. I'm not perfect, he said one evening, 6 months after they officially became a couple. But I want to try. With you. For real. And Amelia believed him. Not blindly, the way she had believed Ethan. But because she had proof, steady, daily proof, that Marcus was who he claimed to be. One Saturday afternoon, almost a year after her breakup with Ethan, Amelia saw him again. She was sitting in a cafe with Marcus, laughing about something silly, when she felt that familiar sensation of being watched. Across the street, Ethan stood still, looking through the window. Their eyes met for a brief second. He looked different. Tired. Older. And in his eyes, something she recognized instantly, regret. He lifted a hand in a small wave. He didn't come in. Just acknowledged her, then kept walking. You okay? Marcus asked, noticing her shift. Yeah, Amelia said, and it was true. Just, someone from the past. The complicated one? Amelia had told Marcus about Ethan. Not every detail, but enough. Marcus had listened without judgment, without insecurity, just understanding. Yeah. You want to talk about it? She looked at Marcus, this man who always asked instead of assuming, who offered space instead of pressure. There's not much to say. It was hard back then. But it taught me what I don't want. And it led me here. Marcus placed his hand over hers. Then I should thank him, for being dumb enough to let you go. Amelia laughed, but there was truth in it. Ethan had done her a favor, even unintentionally. He had shown her, through contrast, exactly what she deserved. That night, alone in her apartment, now truly her home, every corner reflecting who she was, Amelia wrote something she'd been carrying inside for weeks. Not to post. Not to share. Just for herself. Lessons I learned at 35. Love shouldn't require you to shrink yourself to fit into someone's life. If you're constantly guessing where you stand, you're standing in the wrong place. Presence is not a privilege. It's the baseline. If someone truly wants you, they make time, not excuses. You can love someone and still choose yourself. Sometimes that's the most loving thing you can do. And once you know your worth, you instantly recognize when someone doesn't. Amelia read the words again and felt grateful. Not for the pain she went through, but for the woman she became because of it. 3 months later, Marcus proposed. It wasn't elaborate or Instagram-worthy. They were walking through the farmer's market where they first met, and he simply stopped, took her hand, and said, I want to do life with you. If you want that too. No dramatic kneeling. No spectacle. Just raw honesty. Yes, Amelia said, tears in her eyes. I want that. And for the first time in her life, she said yes to someone with zero lingering doubts. No voice whispering she was settling. No fear he would disappear. The night before the wedding, Jordan showed up to help with last-minute details. Nervous? Jordan asked. Oddly, no, Amelia admitted. I thought I would be. But I just feel, sure. Like everything I went through led me exactly here. Including Ethan? Amelia considered. Especially Ethan. He made me fight for my worth by forcing me to defend it. You think he's okay? I hope so. I hope he finds whatever he's looking for. But it's not mine to fix anymore. She looked at the dress hanging nearby, at the new life ahead of her. I spent too long trying to save something that never asked to be saved. Now I'm building something with someone who wants to build it with me. The wedding was small and perfect. Amelia chose every detail based on what she and Marcus loved, not on what would impress the world. And when she walked toward him, she saw something in his eyes Ethan had never given her: certainty. During their vows, Marcus held her hands and said, "I promise to show up. Every day. On the easy days and the hard ones. When it's convenient and when it's not. I promise transparency, honesty, presence. And I promise you'll never have to guess how I feel about you." Amelia cried. Because those simple vows were everything she had begged Ethan for, and now they were given freely by someone who understood that love isn't about chaos, it's about choosing someone, clearly and consistently. Months turned into years. Amelia and Marcus built a life that was surprisingly ordinary. No chaos. No wild swings. Just steady partnership, honest communication, and daily choice. And Amelia discovered that ordinary was extraordinary. That stability wasn't boring, it was a luxury. That healthy love didn't feel like a roller coaster because it wasn't meant to. Sometimes, rarely, she thought of Ethan. Especially when she saw his photos in galleries. He was still talented, still capturing emotion in ways that moved people. She didn't wish him harm. She just hoped he found peace. But more than anything, she felt gratitude. Because Ethan had given her an unintentional gift, he had pushed her to choose between losing herself in him, or finding herself. And she chose herself. And in choosing herself, she became the version who could truly love and be loved, not the smaller version who settled for crumbs, but the whole version who knew her worth and refused to bargain with it. Years later, Amelia was in her studio. She had expanded her business, now with a full team and her own office, when an assistant brought her an envelope. "This came for you." No return address. Inside was a photograph. One of Ethan's, but one she had never seen. It was of her, taken the night they met at that gallery, years earlier. She was looking at a print on the wall, completely absorbed, the light catching her profile. On the back, in Ethan's handwriting. "You always saw beyond the surface. I'm sorry I never learned to do the same until it was too late. Be happy. E." Amelia looked at the photo for a long moment. Then she placed it in a drawer. Not out of anger, not out of pain, but because that chapter was closed. She was happy. Fully, authentically happy. Not despite what she went through with Ethan, but partly because of it. Because sometimes the greatest gift someone can give you is disappointing you just enough that you finally fight for your own worth. And when you do, when you truly choose yourself, life rises to meet that choice. Not with what you chase. Not with what you beg for. But with what you genuinely, courageously believe you deserve. And Amelia Grant, interior designer, 38 years old, had finally learned to design not just beautiful spaces, but a life that was fully, deeply, unmistakably hers. A life where no one had to look her in the eyes and confess an inability to love her. Because she had found someone whose eyes said yes every single day. Without hesitation. Without ambiguity. Just love, steady and clear as sunlight streaming through clean windows. And that, she realized, was more than enough. It was everything. Enjoyed the video? Smash that like button and subscribe for more awesome stories. I'll be waiting for you in the next story.